Maëla of France for Europe here. There is Masai Russell. Her first meet since the Olympics, this for the 24-year-old American. She's Olympic champion. It was a bit of a surprise, that one. And 12:33. Well, she's a 12:25 athlete at her best. That was at the US Championships. There is Nadina Visser. Visser, who is such a tried and tested performer, one of the few Europeans that can mix it with the best of the Americans. Kenny Harrison, former Olympic champion, 6th in the American Olympic trials, didn't even make the team for Paris. She was 3rd in her heat. Danielle Williams, semi-finalist in the Olympics, won her heat in 12:37, a season's best. Akira Nugent, another Jamaican, along with Williams, they were in 4 and 5. Nugent won her heat in 12:30, a meeting record a couple of hours ago. Alicia Johnson, well, 2nd in the American Olympic trials. She was 7th in the Olympic final, 12:46 in her heat here. Grace Stark goes in lane 7. 5th in the Olympic Games, 2nd in Lausanne, really consistent form. She ran 12:38 in Lausanne, then 12:42 in her heat here a couple of hours ago. Samba Maëla, Sarina Samba Maëla, the Olympic silver medalist. That was the only medal for the French in track and field athletics at the Paris Games. She goes in lane 8, and Tonya Marshall there on the outside in lane 9. Marshall, who was 5th at the US Olympic trials, and just checking actually, this is her first meeting since the Olympic trials, Tonya Marshall, the 25-year-old. But look out here in particular for Masai Russell. She'll have been frustrated to have been 5th in her heat. She got through as a non-automatic qualifier to this from the 2 heats. She was the slowest of all of them, as they say, Hannah, with 12:56. But she is a 12:25 athlete. She's the fastest in the world this year. She's Olympic champion, and she's on the far side to right of picture in lane 1. Visser in 2. Kenny Harrison goes in 3. Danielle Williams of Jamaica 4. Akira Nugent 5. Johnson in 6 for the USA. Stark 7. Samba Maëla of France 8. Marshall nearest the camera there in lane 9. Quicker, that is a new lifetime best, and 12:27, that puts her right up there in the top 10 all time. There's only a handful of women have gone quicker than that in history. And just looking for the wind reading on that one, and 12:27, the wind was up to 1.9 earlier on. Minus 0.5, wow. Turn that around, make it a little bit stronger. They don't want too strong a wind behind them, though, because it blows them into the barriers and upsets their stride pattern. And actually, if you're very, very fast over the barriers and in between the barriers, then maybe a little bit of a headwind is a good thing. It sort of holds you back a little bit from messing up your stride pattern. But 12:37. I thought 12:27 came up initially.
I think Nugent maybe hasn't got a timing chip on, because they're showing Grace Stark as the winner, and she was 2nd. I was just trying to.
Thought I was going mad.
I'm really impressed by Nugent. We watched the heats earlier on, which she looked great, so it's no surprise she's running fast. But after that heat, she limped off. She had to take her shoes off straight away. She looked in a lot of pain. I was doubting whether we'd even see the Jamaican back out here in the final, and she's proved me wrong. She's come back and run even faster. It's a wonderful race from Nugent against a high-quality field.
Well, Akira Nugent then, a meeting record in her heat, and improves it in the final. It's confirmed 12:29, that meeting record. It is a fabulous display of consistent sprint hurdling from the Jamaican.
Jones is there, Sonia.
Phenomenal in Jamaica. She was a late add to the race, and she was a surprise winner there. She trains with Gabby Thomas, and just looks really good in Kingston.
Maribel Saicedo, the South American record holder from Ecuador, is in the race. Very international feel to all of these fields that they've put together in there. Alasia Johnson came through, had a great race last year, and made her way to Paris after a great run in the Olympic trials. She's got a PR of 12:31, and then the Olympic champion Masai Russell.
Man, she's had a great year. Her first year, she was Olympic champion. Her first year pro. She won in Drake last week, had a good indoor season. I am excited to see what she will do here.
She will surprise you. Lane 5 is going to be open. That's where Samba Maëla was supposed to be, the Olympic silver medalist. She's gone. Akira Nugent, fine Jamaica hurdler, another one of those Arkansas Razorbacks. And I think spent a year at Baylor as well, if I'm not mistaken. She's run 12:24, so she was in the Paris final. Kenny Harrison, love to see her in a race.
Yeah, former world record holder at this event. She was added to the field here. Saw her on the elevator. She says she is super excited to run. And with that 100-meter PR last week, she's feeling really good.
And then Megan Tapper fills it out third at the Tokyo Games. So she's got an Olympic medal, which is always good on your mantle to have one of those. So that's your field for the race. Responsibility for calling that race is our fine booth of Steve Cram, Anson Henry, and Kerry Tullefson. Gang?
Well, there was a little twitch there from Russell, but they're away cleanly. Tia Jones going well over in lane one as well, but it's Russell in the middle, and Jones perhaps just has the lead here. It's going to be very, very tight on the line. Very tight indeed. That's perhaps Russell just getting it. The tape wraps itself around Russell's midriff. 12, is that right? I'm looking at the clock here, 12.17? Really? We've got to wait for the wind reading here.
It says 2.0, I think.
It says 2.0.
It says 2.0.
12.17. Now, if that wind reading is correct, no wonder they're running around looking at each other saying, is this right? Because Masai Russell has just...
Hey, I said she was going to come back and do something, right? I didn't think she was going to come back and break the world record.
But what about Jones? 12.19. Okay, so what a way to start. That's we talk about racing and bringing your A game. You're the Olympic champion. You well, not at your best in the first Grand Slam. And Tia Jones, just phenomenal. Nugent, 12.34 in third, and was a long way back.
You want to know something? With Samba Mayala out of the race, I think a lot of the women kind of calmed down a little bit. Really, it was tough luck for her, but usually athletes are like, well, you know, it's one less person I got to worry about. And I was a silver medalist at the Olympics, but Masai Russell coming through with 12.17.
I'm still processing this.
Yeah, man. I don't really know what's happening right now,
you look down the list. I mean, that's an American record for Masai Russell. Tia Jones is, you know, just run something that I don't think she could have dreamed of running, 12.19. Even Kenny Harrison, 12.40 in fourth place.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in today's episode of Sports Rewind, we are going to look at this video whereby it's the women's 100-meter hurdles at the 2024 Silesia Diamond League that happened back in Poland. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in this race, you'll understand that it had some of the familiar names that we are used to, and of course these athletes came from different countries, and we had these athletes from Jamaica, Akira Nugent, and we had Grace Stark, we had Danielle Williams, and Masai Russell representing the United States. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the big question here is, what happens when Olympic champions, world champions, and the rising stars all line up in one race? Well, this wasn't just another 100-meter hurdles. This was Jamaica versus USA at full power. Remember, we've always loved it when Jamaica and the USA are featured in any race. Now, and by the finish line, 4 women were separated by just 1/10 of a second. I believe you understand what that means. And ladies and gentlemen, the craziest part is that the favorite of all the athletes didn't win. Now, who was your favorite? Engage me in the comment section. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Larry Kagiran Covers. Remember, if you're coming across my channel for the first time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment. To my returning subscribers, I have to say thank you so much for the love and support. Now, let's take a quick dive in. So here, we are looking at the Silesia Diamond League 2024 in Poland, one of the fastest tracks in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the crowd was packed and the energy purely electric. And then you look at the lineup. Masai Russell, beautiful. An Olympic medalist, gold medalist to be precise. came in perfect form. We had Daniel Williams, who is a world champion. And then we had this great talent also from Jamaica, who is Akira Nugent, a young Jamaican rising star with serious speed. I believe she's going to cause more damage in the world of track and field sooner than we think. And then we had Grace Tuck, of course, representing again United States, one of the cleanest technicians in the game. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just from the lineup, you'll understand that this wasn't just a race. This was a collision of giants. And here you'll understand that the impact was going to be big, the impact was going to be massive. Now, all eyes, truth be told, were on Masai Russell, which of course is not a bad thing, because she's been dominating, she's been confident, standing tall at the line, at the start of the line. Hands on hips, calm and focused. Purely the good qualities of Russell. Gets a solid reaction, but not explosive. But in meanwhile, Akira Nugent flies out. We've been from Jamaican sprinting queens, Jamaican speed queens, and now we are here witnessing Akira Nugent fly in these 100-meter hurdles. Her first 3 steps, ladies and gentlemen, were aggressive, confident, controlled. And all the 3 sums up to one word. Her first 3 steps were perfect. Grace Tuck also nails her start. Low, fast, and efficient. Already you could tell, ladies and gentlemen, this race was going to be so tight. Now, this is where the race are won or lost, because Masai Russell starts building momentum. Her stride length is smooth and powerful, while on the other hand, we had Danielle Williams, whereby her classic form had no panic and just gliding over the hurdles. But here's the problem. Nobody was breaking away. Akira Nugent is still there. We had stuck. Every hurdle was clean. Every step was precise and calculated. Ladies and gentlemen, this was no longer a race again. This was a sprint chase match at full speed. Now, the pressure, ladies and gentlemen, it now kicks in. This is where technique starts to crack. But not today. Akira Nugent was still attacking. Masai Russell was still trying to surge. And on the other hand, Danielle Williams was staying composed. One of the great qualities. And Grace Tuck of United States just right there, refusing to disappear. Ladies and gentlemen, at hurdle 9, you could even call it 4 athletes, all in contention. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing, ladies and gentlemen? Now, here comes the final hurdle. Ladies and gentlemen, no stumbles, no mistakes. They sprint, all of them, to the line. And truth is, it's a blur. No one celebrates immediately. Because nobody knows exactly who won this race. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, that's how close this race was. Now, we saw Akira Nugent clock a time of 12.29. And then we had Grace Tuck clock a time of 12.37. And then we had Danielle Williams, also from Jamaica, running a time of 12.38. And of course, the people's favorite, Masai Russell, running a time of 12.40. Yes, running a time of 12.40. Let that sink in. I mean, from first to fourth athlete, just a difference of 0.11 seconds. You could tell how tight this race was. Ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't just first. This was a statement. Jamaica didn't just show up. They came to win. And they won. United States, on the other hand, they didn't collapse. They fought to the last breath. They fought to the line. And the biggest takeaway, ladies and gentlemen, there is no clear dominant queen in the 100 meters hurdles right now. Every race could flip everything, and you understand that. And if this is what we are getting right now, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, imagine what's coming next. Ladies and gentlemen, engage me in the comment section. Tell me what you think of this video. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you're enjoying my contents. And of course, tell me what I should tackle next. This is just another episode of Sports Rewind. And like I say, I've been tackling and I'll continue tackling some of the best races in the world of track and field. So beautiful people, wonderful people, I've been your host, Larry Kagiran Covers. Remember, if you're coming across my channel for the first time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment. To my returning subscribers, my returning viewers, I have to say thank you so much for the love and support. So ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again in my next video, peace out and one love.